Welcome to the fastest daf in town. Today we're going to start the Chagigah daf Tes Zayin. We're going to begin on Tes Zayin Amud Aleph, about 8 lines from the top. Tanur Shish Devarim Nemru B'Shedim. There are 6 things said about Shedim, Shindalids, demons. Shloishik Malchei Sharis or Shloishik Adam. 3 ways they're like angels, and 3 ways they're like people. Shloishik Malchei Sharis Yeshlaim Kshafim Malchei Sharis. They have the ability to do witchcraft, as well as the Tossin Mesayf Olam Viad Sofik Malchei Sharis. They travel from one side to the world, just like angels. The Yoidim Masha Asid Li Yois Malchei Sharis. They know the future, like angels. Yoidim Sakadaitach. What do you mean? Says the Marshal, only Hashem knows the future. El Shaimin Machriya Pargid Malchei Sharis. They actually can hear Achriya Pargud, just like we heard by Acher in last daf, that he heard Achriya Pargud. So, just like Malchei Sharis. In 3 ways, Shedim are like people. Of course, this is beyond the scope of my understanding, but they eat and drink like people. They procreate like people. And Shedim die like people. There's 6 things said about people. So interestingly, a person could be like an angel in 3 ways and could be like an animal in 3 ways. So you can go in either way. So we have superior intellect like angels. We walk upright on 2 legs. And we have the ability to speak Lashon HaKodesh, which also means we have the Koch HaDibur, we have the ability to speak. 3 like animals. We eat and drink as animals do. They're part of a Rabbi behema and moitzin reya behema. And we procreate like animals, and we also excrete. We also use go to the bathroom like animals. So the Sefer Derech Hashem says we are, on one hand, we have the potential of being so high like angels, yet we could hit rock bottom like a behema. This is the notion from the holiday of Shavuos to Pesach. On Shavuos, on Pesach, the sacrifice is from barley, and on Shavuos, when we receive the Torah, is wheat. So we are allowed to be more guf, or are we able to control it and become more neshama, more soul-like? So we can drift to be as low as an animal, or we can be as high as angels. A person stares at 4 things, it's fit that they should not be in the world. Someone like who he thinks about. I can understand what's above and below. What will be, that's good, I understand it. Elif nim mad havi. What was before, what was. Like, what's the big deal? So Rav Yochanan, Rabbi Lezer B'Tevayu, Mashal Melech Basam Adam, Shalom Avodav, he says to his servants, Banule Platirin Gedoylin Al Ha'ashba. Go and build this beautiful construction, and I want you to do it on a garbage heap. Halchu Banulei Ein Ritzon Shel Melech Lahaskir Shem Ashba. Hashem doesn't want you to mention its origin, where it came from. So we know that the world was tohu vavohu, which is almost like ashba, it was like a garbage heap, and therefore Hashem doesn't want us to want us to be reminded of that. This notion of yesh ma'ayin, that we came from nothing, but we only are in control of the things that existed. So therefore, anything which is yesh ma'ayin is beyond our understanding. Kol shel chasal kavaydo kana ratzoi. Anyone who doesn't have mercy on Hashem's honor, again, he shouldn't be in the world. So Mahi. So Abu Omer Zemastaka Bekeshes. Someone who stares at a rainbow. A person is not allowed to gaze upon a rainbow. Rav Yosef Omer Ze'oiver Ver B'Seiser. Someone who sins privately. So Mastaka Bekeshes Tachsev Kimar Hakeshes Ashia Be'anan. Just like the rainbow which is in the clouds, B'yoyim hageshem, in the days of rain, Kin Mara Hanoga Saviv Hu Mara Demus Kavod Hashem. so too is the brightness around it, and the appearance is that of the honor of God. Rabbi Yosef, if you do a sin privately, it's like you push off Hashem's feet. We saw this pasuk a couple times already in this parak. That the heavens is Hashem's throne, and the feet is like the earth is like his footstool. So therefore, if you sin in this world, it's like you're pushing his feet away. Says Rashi. You're basically saying Hashem's not here. But Hashem, his feet are here. Hashem's footstool is here. But a person sees his Yetzer Hara is getting very strong, then you should go to a place where no one recognizes you. You should wear black, you should wrap yourself in black, and go and do whatever you want. However, by doing that, at least you're not sinning and embarrassing Hashem by disgracing his name in public. So we see it's good to do it in private. The question is, are you able to control your Yetzer Hara or not? So if you're not able to control your Yetzer Hara, so then it's better to do this. Says Taisus. So Vias mal shilibul chavetz gamri mashma completely do whatever you want. The mutavol adam shiasa chevtzo b'seiser v'lo b'far hesia. Better you should do it in private than in public. V'lo yikepesh rach. It says in the end of the first parak of Masechtas Kedushin, the longest prakim in Shas, Shepirish the Chaser Shom Shahim Mato Lasos Avera. El Karmi Yiva Shchayrim wear black. V'yelchel Makam Acher go somewhere else. Levisha Shchayrim Misharben Libo. It's going to break your heart. V'yavli de Avera. You'll end up not sinning. V'yochel Lasos Me'achsham Mashali B'chafetz Tavade in Yitzum Eskabrolov. So this is the notion in Parshas Kitetse about the Isha Shivas Toar. The pasuk says that you can go and take this woman, and the question is why. So on this, Rashi says, "Lo dibur Torah el keneged the Yetzer Hara." What does that mean? So the Torah just allows you to do whatever you want. So the point is that the Torah does things to go keneged the Yetzer Hara, because if the Torah would say it's usher, so a person would do it anyway. Instead, there's all these different requirements. You have to take her, she has to cry, and she has to look a little repulsive in her the way she looks, and then okay, you could have tashmish with her. At that point, you're not going to want to. That's the same thing over here. It doesn't mean they go and do whatever you want, but psychologically, you say to yourself, okay, I can sin. The Torah is going to allow me to sin, but I have to do this, and this, and go over there. By the time you do all these things, you're going to be like, okay, I have no longer the taiva to do so, which is keneged the Yetzer Hara. Okay, so that's what it's referring to. Again, if you have control or you don't have control, well, if you're not able to control Yetzer Hara, better to do that. Darsh Rav Yehuda b'Reb Nachmani Maturguminia the Reish Lakish Kol Mastakel b'Gimel Dvarim Ein of Chaos. Literally, if a person looks at three things, your eyes will weaken. B'Keshes v'Nosi v'Kohanim. If you look at the rainbow, a nasi, or the Kohanim, we'll see what this means. B'Keshes T'chsiv Kamari Keshes Asher Ba'anan. So we already quoted that pasuk that a person is not allowed to look at the rainbow. And the idea behind this is that the notion of the rainbow is basically to say that Hashem is not going to bring another Mabul. He's not going to bring another flood. So you're almost like taunting Hashem in a way by staring at it as though to say there's nothing that you can do to harm me. So that's something in which is improper. You're using your eyes improperly, and it's an improper attitude. That he will give your glory upon him. So again, when it comes to looking at a great leader, you shouldn't gaze upon them too long. It's referring to the time in which the Kohanim would be there, and they would say Hashem's special name. Says Rashi, Shashchina Shara al Kishrei Etzboi Sehen, because Hashem Shechina was by their fingers. If we look in Taisus over here, the last line, Amar Chagi Klum Oimer El Mishum Hesach El Mistakel V'Loi Maskana Daiti. So the question is, the reason why you're not supposed to be staring at him is because of a lack of hesach hadas. You're diverting your attention is because of this issue. Ayin Taisus. Darsh Rabbi Yehuda Reb Nachmani Matargum and Reb Shlokish. Ma'adach said, the pasuk says, Al taminu bara, do not believe in a friend. Al tiftachu ba'olwuf, do not have your faith in the chief. So, if let's say Yetzer Hara says you can sin, Hashem's going to forgive you, al tam, don't believe him, don't listen to it. Shnemar al tamin bara, then ra el Yetzer Hara. Shnemar ki Yetzer lev ha'adam ra, then aluf el Kadosh Baruch Hu. Shnemar olaf ne'ari ata. Shema taimer mi meid, who's going to testify? Be against me. Avdi base of a Kodesh base, so shall Adam him ma'iden boy. The very walls of one's house will testify. Shnemar ki Evan makir tizak, that the walls will cry out. The kafis me'etz yanena, and the timber of the wood will answer. Actually, your own neshama will testify against you. Me'ida boy. Shnemar, as the pasuk says, mishkavas chilkecha, shamar pische picha. It says that his bosom he should guard from the opening of your mouth. Ezuhi davar sheshaycheves b'cheiko shel adam havi omer zuneshama. Rabbi Zreika omer shnei malchi yesharis tamalavan oisai hein ma'iden boy. It's actually two angels that accompany you. They'll testify against you. Shnemar ki malachi v'tzavlach shemar b'chol dorachecha. Evar or chamim omrim. Or Yesh Omrim, Avarv Shal Adam Eden boy, your very limbs will testify against you. Shnemar v'atem Eidai Num Hashem v'ani Kel. Okay, so fine. The Salach says that the Yetzer Hara says you'll just sin and you know it's nothing and nothing will happen. You won't do it again, but the opposite is true. You'll keep doing it to justify what you've done. So you'll end up almost feeling that everything you're doing is fine. The Mishnah Berurah says that if you see a rainbow, you do not tell your friend about it. Rather, you keep it to yourself. The Zohar says in Yemos Mashiach, a rainbow will be seen like never before. Okay. Fine. Let's see if there's a question over here before we go weiter to the next Mishnah. Be'el gimel dvarim daimin b'nei adam kamalchi sharas. So in which way are people comparable to malchi sharas? So he said, yesh lehem das. We have das. We are mahalach b'kum zakufa, and also masaprim b'lashon hakodesh. So these are the three ways in which we are like the malchi sharas, like angels. Okay, let's see if maybe there's another question over here. No. Oh, yeah. TB4. So the question is like this: Mi meid b'adam l'asad lavai alavana siyasa. Who will testify against you? So this is a hard question because there's four answers. They want all four. So he said. So one is your neshama. Let's actually get all these down. So one shot is the avni beso b'koros beso shel adam hein me'iden. That's one answer. Nishmaso shel adam me'iden bo, your neshama. That's a second possible answer. A third is the malche shnei malche hashares malavanoy so hein me'iden boy, or a varav shel adam, your limbs will testify against you. Okay, so those are the four possible answers. That was TB4. Let's make sure I got them. Avan v'kayres nishmasai shnei malchei shnei malachim malavin oiso a varav. Okay, weiter. So we have the following famous Mishnah. Yosef ben Yoezer oimer shlo lismoich. Yosef ben Yochanan oimer lismoich. So you have this original machlokas, this zug, Yosi ben Yoezer and Yosef ben Yochanan. This is actually the original machlokas in the world in Shas, which is whether or not you do smicha on the animal. Says Rashi, B'Yomtiv, it's talking about on Yomtiv. Zuhi machlokas rishayne shahisa b'chachmi Yisrael. This is the very first machlokas about smicha, about resting the hands on the animal. Do you do smicha on Yom Tov? So one says yes, one says no. Next kat, Yeshua ben Parachi Omer Shalismaich, Netanu Arbeli Omer Lismaich. So that was the second group. Third group, Yehuda ben Tabai Omer Shalismaich, Shimon ben Shetach Omer Lismaich. Fourth group is Shemaya Omer Lismaich, Avtalion Omer Shalil Lismaich. So you have the Nasi and the Abbeistin, they argue about this. Hillel and Menachem lo nechaku. Hillel and Menachem do not disagree regarding this. Yotze Menachem nichnas Shammai. Actually, Menachem should be removed, and the Gemara is going to explain where did he go, and we insert Shammai. So Shammai Omer Shal Lismaich, Hillel Omer Lismaich. So even though we mentioned before the Shita of Lismaich, and then like Shemaiah said Lismaich, Haftan said Shalol Lismoch, but Shammai we always quote before Hillel. Shammai was always quoted before Hillel, so that's why it's said in this order. Shammai Omer Shal Lismaich, Hillel Omer Lismaich. Okay. So we continue having this machlokus whether smicha is to be done on an animal on Yom Tov as we continue to test Zion with base. So Harishainim Hayu Nesiim, for the most part, the first in this group that's mentioned in each zug, that was the Nasi. Mishniyim Lehem Abbeistin. And the second person was the Abbeistin. Tanaban. Shloishim Azugas Harishonos She'amr, the first three groups, and we said that there were actually 5 different zugos mentioned in this Mishnah. So the first 3 sets, Shol Lismach Shnayim Zugas Achronim Shemar Lismoch. So again, how it started to say to do it or not to do it is in different orders. Harishanim Haya Nesiim V'Shneim Lehem Avos Beistin Divra Meir Cham Ormim Yehuda ben Taboy Beistin V'Shimon ben Shetach Nasi. Actually, Yehuda ben Taboy, even though he was mentioned in the third group before Shimon ben Shetach, so you would think so. It means Yehuda ben Taboy, in fact, was the Nasi. No, Yehuda ben Taboy, according to this Shita, he was actually the number 2, the Abbas. Then Shimon ben Shetach was the Nasi. So Man Tanulaha, the Tanrabanan Omer of Yehuda ben Taboy. So again, question is, was he the Abbas then the Nasi? Erub ben Chama im lo haragti ed zaymim lo haitzim liben shel sadukim shay omrim ein edim zaymin nehargen ad shiharg hanidain. So he always wanted to be able to sentence this person to death, an eid zaymim, a plotting witness, in which the pasuk says that you're supposed to do the exact same punishment if it's found out that they wanted to do this. But the din is only by Gemar din, before the actual punishment was administered. Once that, let's say, the plotting witnesses wished to have this guy killed, and they were successful in having him killed, then only afterwards the Edom come, so then it's only last size, only what we plan to do. So he said, I wanted to be able to kill this Eid Zaymim. Again, you need 2, not just 1. Because that Sudikim said that it's only after the person actually they were successful in their Eidus and having them killed. But we hold no. When they're successful in having them killed, they're not killed, even though it seems counterintuitive. But based on the pasuk, is lasais, lasus achiv v'lo osa. It's not what they did, what they were plotting to do. So Amru Shimon ben Shetach, Erev ben Achama im lo shavachti dam naki. You actually killed innocent blood. You spilled innocent blood. Shahari Amru Chachamim ein enim zayim nehargu ad shizim mishnein ve'ein loiken ad shizim mishnein ve'ein misham mammon ad shizim mishnein. It's true that you're supposed to punish them only after the Gemar Din, but before the punishment was rendered. If that's when they became an Eid Mizayimim. But you killed one person. You can't do that on one aid. So Miyad Kibul of Yehuda ben Taboy, Sheinu Mar Halacha El Befnei Shimon ben Shetach. He's only going to paskin in front of Shimon ben Shetach, which means he deferred to him, which sounds like he was not the Nasi. Kol Yom of all of his days, Shal Yehuda ben Taboy, Hayimashtateach HaKibur Shal Eiso Horug. He used to go to the grave of the person that was killed, this Eid Echad, who shouldn't have been killed. Nishma, and you can always hear from afar a voice crying out. People thought it was the voice of the person who was killed. They said, no. It's not like he's saying, no, it wasn't him, because if it was him, it would show that I was really wrong. Rather, koilihu was my voice. Teidu, machahu meis, that tomorrow, eventually, I will die. Ve'in koil nishma, you won't hear my voice anymore. So it'll be right. It's a right that was my voice. It's very possible it was still the Hayreg's voice. So why did it stop only when Yehuda ben Taboy will eventually die? Is because at that point they will come together. Either he'll actually be in the same location, so to speak, in Olam Haba, and to be able to ask for forgiveness in a more appropriate way, or he'll be able to be taken to din by the Beis Din Shalmayla. So money ha. So it's just like Iyamar Bishlama Rav Meir. If you want to tell me correctly, that's like the shita of Rav Meir that said that the first three zugos, the Rishonim were Nisim, the Shneim was Avos Beis Din. So in that case, Yehuda ben Taboy was the Nasi. Rabbi Yehuda ben Taboy Nasi Hanudika Mori Halach Mefnei Shimon ben Shetach. That's why Yehuda ben Taboy originally felt it was appropriate for him to paskin, and then he decided I better stop. Now Iyamar Rabbanan the Amri Yehuda ben Taboy Beis Din Shimon ben Shetach Nasi Beis Din Mefnei Nasi Mi Mori Halacha. Rabbi Yehuda ben Taboy, if he was only the Beis Din, he would not have paskin in the presence of Shimon Shetach, because Shimon Shetach would have been a Nasi, and you can't paskin above someone who's above you. So it's a raya that Yehuda ben Taboy must have been the Nasi. Lo, my kibol of the kaimer with sterufe, the afil sterufe namilum starfina. His Kabbalah was combining with other judges. He said, I'm not even going to combine with other people. In other words, it's not necessarily a raya. It's very possible that in fact Yehuda ben Taboy was just he was an Abestin. So what was he b'makabel? That he wouldn't even combine with other judges at all. He says Rashi, Leishi Badin El Bahadi Shimon. And any time he would ever be in another court case, it would only be in his presence. Fine. If you're looking at this Taisus, Im Horati Zaimim Tema Milo Makshinan Hacha Hashta Behemtin Shel Tzadikim and Kadosh Baruch Hu Meivden Kol Yadam Tzadikim Atzam Lo Kol Shekain. We learn in numerous places that Hashem is not going to cause the downfall of a tzaddik. So how is it possible that this happened to him? To genai hu tzaddik to oichel davar iser of davar heter b'shas iser lo. So it's very possible that this concept of Hashem will never cause a tekal for tzaddikim, that only applies to food-related issues. It's a genai that he would eat something which is improper to eat. However, other things it is possible, such as the story. And Taisus continues that v'toim kodim havdal afagav dimisaso ba'askra ein davar meguna kol kach achilos heter b'shasa iser. So it brings down a story in Psachim that this person, he ate before Havdalah. So that's food. So how is he allowed to do that? Again, it's not something which is aser. The food isn't aser. It was just the wrong time. Okay, I entice. Fine. Weiter. Yatsa Menachem v'nichnas Shammai. So Heichin Yatsa. Where did Menachem go? So by Ermer Yatsa Tarvas Ra. He actually went with Tarvas Ra. The Ben Yehoyada says that when he went Latarvas Ra, Menachem didn't go off the derech, rather at Hordus who went off the derech. Or to go to Malchus is a way of going off the derech, which is what we see here. Rabbi Omer Yatza Lavodas HaMelech. Tanya Mihachi Yatza Menachem Lavodas HaMelech. V'Yatza Imai Shmoinim Zugais Talmidim Lavushim Sirkuin. That also 80 groups, 80 pairs of students wearing silk went with him. Amr Shimon ben Abba bar Abba Rabbi Yochel Oyel Maltehi Shvus Kal Be'enecha. Even which is a shvus, which is not a din deraisa, you should still be very careful when it comes to those dinim. Why? Shahari Smicha Inu El Mishum Shvus Nechul Ba Gadol Hador. There was considered to be one of the first machlokas, something very, very serious, and nonetheless we should we still consider it as a major machlokas. What's the shvus? Says Rashi, did not Elohim mishum shvus oilin be'ilan v'yoich v'nal gabe behemas. Masechtas Beya, it says toward the end of the Masechta over there in Daf Lamed Vav, that a person ought to climb up a tree, can't ride an animal. V'hainami mishtamesh bebali chayimhu. Here you're using an animal. You're saimech alaha b'chol koichai. So we're going to see later on, you don't just put your hands on it, but you put all your weight on it. That's like using the animal. So even though that's a din shvus, because the whole issue of using an animal is you may break off a branch to steer the animal. So, but nonetheless, it's still quite important. So pshita, shvus mitzvah tzrichale. So hainami pshita. Lafuki mamandi omer the smicha gufa pligi. That whether or not there's a chiyuv to do it b'chlal. Kamash one, the shvusu de pligi. There, not that is there a question to do smicha. Smicha normally is done on this type of an animal. The question is, should it be done on Yom Tov? That's what it's coming to tell us. Weiter, look at Rashi. Fuki mandi armim says him satis beya b'smicha atzma pligi. Mandi aser la mishum shvus aser and mishum desvirle the shalmi chayva lo bo smicha. When it comes to a shalmi chayva, an obligatory carbon shlomim, you don't do smicha on it. The chikas of a samach, when it says the word of a samach, is b'shalmi nedava ksiv. When it comes to shalmi nedava, there's nothing to talk about. Everyone holds you have to do smicha on shalmi nedava. The chayva is nedava lo gamrinan. The question is, do you make this connection just like it? There's a chiyav of shalmi nedava, so there's a chiyav of shalmi chayva, or maybe not. Kamash muan. Rabbi Yochanan Taimam Mishum Shvusu v'samatu oil mitzvah. Really, smicha is a mitzvah even when it comes to an oilless chayva. Gufa plig b'smicha gufa plig kamashmon b'shvus hu de pligi. Amar achama shmami na smicha b'chol kaychay be'inan. You have to put all your weight on it. If you don't need all your strength, so Michael Avid Lismaich, what's the big deal? You're not doing anything. So basically, Pasuk says, Dabro b'nei Yisrael v'samach. B'nei Yisrael saimachin, then b'nei Yisrael saimchais. That women do not do smicha on animals, only men. Rav Yosef, Rav Shimon, Oimrim, b'nei Yisrael saimchas rishus. According to his shita, he says, no, not that women can't do it, it's rishus, which means basically it's optional. They can do it if they wish to. So Amar Rav Yosi Sachli Abba Elazar Pamachas. One time Hayolanu Egel Shel Zivchei Shlomim. I was presented with this calf of a carbon shlomim. V'Avienu Ezras Nashim. It was brought to the Ezras Nashim. The Samchol Nashim, and women did smicha. Lomin Nesha smicha b'Nashim. Not because it was necessary for them to do it. El Kedi Lasus Nachas Ruach LaNashim. We wanted to create a Nachas Ruach LaNashim. We wanted women to not feel excluded, so therefore we allowed them to do it. So if it's true, it must be done. You need to do smicha. So mishum nachas ruach the nashim avdina navoda v'kachim doesn't make sense. We're going to have them do an avoda of kachim. If they're not allowed to do an avoda, they're not kohanim, only a male kohen. So if it's something which is required, then we wouldn't have allowed them to do it. Just because of nachas ruach, actually, we should see from here, it's not necessary to do b'chol koicho. So again, the question is to do an unnecessary avoda by kachim and allow an animal to be supported. So really, you need to do it all your strength. Put it your hands lightly on it. You can just tell them that it's not smicha at all. It's not smicha. So really you do need to do smicha, but we have them do smicha in a very soft manner, which is not really smicha. Okay, let's look in Rashi. Shma mina mit Rabbi Yochanan the uki taima mishum shvus. Okay, we didn't do that yet. Okay, weiter. The sides are aser. So lismach stadim. So just have them do it on the sides, and that would be enough. Says Rashi, there's an issue of shvus, of using the animal, stud and asurin. It's riding the animal, who didn't look shimush, using it at all. Even something which is usually not used. You can go and see the behemoth, like the side, the part of the animal you would never actually ride. But who I didn't see the elon, like the sides of the tree. So lismoich, the whole roish behemoth kastadin dami. the smicha is on the head, so it should be allowed to be done because it's like stadim. The fact that you do it on the head, you don't ride on the animal's head, so it's ki'ul. It's like stadim. So it must be that stadim asurin. These are that stadim are mutarin. So lismich, or it says over here in the Hagoy Sabach, stadim mutarin nismach haraisha. So just do it on the head. It's not a problem. Stadim asurin. Must be that stadim asurin, and therefore just resting it on the head is insignificant. As we continue to say it off, Rav Ashi Omer Afil Tema stadim mutarin. Kol de bahadi gaba ki gaba dami. Anything which is along the back is like the back. So the head isn't considered to be the side of an animal, it's more like the back. So therefore, even though it's true that maybe stadim are mutter, so the question is, so if you just put it, or you just put it on the head is comparable to the back. Okay. Look at Tosfos. Dichui ba'alma. This is actually a little bit of a dichui. Tasvili Rav Ashi beperek Basar Shabbos. Rav Ashi hashdi amrin and stadim asurin. Elahachi karmer debahol leika lomashmino. You can't learn anything from here. So really, he does hold that stadim are asurin. That to do smicha on the sides is nothing. The question is doing on the head that actually has validity because it's comparable to it being done like on the back. Question 8. He'im mutter l'nashim lismach al carbon afapi shepaturos. So it's a machlokas. The gamuman demata in soimches b'chol kaicha. Even one who says that they could do smicha. However, he says you should not do it with all of your strength. That's what he says over here. That's what we say, that you should put your hands there lightly. So this way, even if smicha is mamish, like a chiyuv and everything, so they're not really doing anything, it's not really such a big deal. How do we know that smicha needs to be with all of your might? So as we said, because midipligi im saimchen biyamtiv, the fact that we have a machlokas, can you do smicha at all on Yom Tiv? So Shema Minah the Havilei Mishtamish Malachayim. It's like you're using an animal. It's only considered like you're using it if you're resting on it with all your might. So therefore, that is a raya that clearly because if you didn't need to put all your koyach on it, you're not really using the animal. That's the idea behind this. Which is in Rashi. Okay. All right. Let's see. TA5. Tam de surin lismach b'yamtim mavor b'gemara mishum dahavi shvus. Okay. So we said the issue of smicha is because there's a shvus on Yom Tov. Eza halacha b'hilchos smicha loimdin mizeh umadua I efshel lismach umadir mestadin mutarin. So the smicha b'chol koycha b'inan, you have to use all your strength. Using the head is not stadin because it is considered ki'ilu like the back, and therefore it's also constitutes not like stadim. Okay, that was TA5. Okay, which was the last thing that we saw, and also over here too, TA5. Okay. TB 5. Ha'im oilas re'iyah doicha Yom Tov o Shabbos. So that we will see on tomorrow's daf. Let's see a couple of Rabbi Gibber's questions, if there are any. Kol shloichas al kavod kaino ratzu shlobo oilam ma'asa. So what are these things? If you look at the Keshes, a rainbow, or he does a sin in private and could control himself. He killed one aid, but you can only carry out the din when she is shnehem. So I wrote over here and I almost got it wrong. Now, Shvus on Shabbos, so it's therefore prohibited even though it's a mitzvah. There was a machlokes if smicha gufa, whether you need to do it at all on this animal, which again was regarding a shalmei chayva.